Now, if we talk about the purpose as a thing, as a living, breathing entity, as I believe it is, or whether we talk about it as a set of rules that must be sort of adhered to and keeps the entire Shadowlands at bay, there's a couple of things that stand out to me that I think we absolutely have to talk about, and this is a conversation that I promised you guys before I even got COVID. I think the Wednesday last week, I promised you that we would be having this conversation, and then obviously I got sick, so didn't happen as much as I would have wanted it to. But everything we know about the old gods have been one entire fucking lie. Everything, every word, every notion, every promise, it's all lies. From start to finish, it's all lies. What was the first time we learned about the old gods? It was the story that was told to Sargeras. By who? The Nathrezim. We now know that the Nathrezim worked for Sidanathrius. Sidanathrius, in turn, worked for Zovaal. What did the Dreadlords tell our friend Sargeras? Well, no. Cthulhu is the first old god that we encountered. But Cthulhu is not the first time we learn about the old gods. At the time that we encountered Cthulhu, this was just an old god in Silithus. This was just something that was very old. The first time we learnt anything about them, the first time we really discovered anything about their true nature, was in the Chronicles. Even with Yogg-Saron, again, just an old god in Northrend, we knew very little about what this old god actually wants. However, we've always assumed that they're evil and that they must be defeated. The Chronicles were the source that told us why they're evil. Why do we believe that they're evil? Because the Titans believe that they're evil. Why do the Titans believe that they're evil? Because Sargeras believed that they're evil. Why does Sargeras believe that they're evil? Because the Dreadlords told him that they're evil. But here's the problem. Here's the big issue. What was the Dreadlords' deceit? What was the end result of their deceit? It led to Sargeras forming a crusade to destroy all life in the universe. Where would all this life go to? It led to Sargeras wanting to destroy all life in the universe. Why? Why did Sargeras believe that all life had to be destroyed in the universe? To reset the cycle. Remember what Sargeras told his Titan friends, his family. He said, if we end all life, life started once before. If we end it now, there's a chance that it could start again. So the cycle could restart itself. But this current version of the cycle was sick, and it was up to us to end it. Now, thanks to the Shadow Brokers, or the Brokers, right? We now know, according to them at least, the universe was built on this singular sort of axis. The primary axis, if you will, of the universe, which is life and death. Everything that lives will die, and things that die will live again, right? So it's the endless cycle. Sylvanas wishes to break this, so we know that this is the jailer's work. The jailer wishes to break the cycle. He wishes to end this eternal cycle of life and death, always moving. How did he put Sargeras in this sort of train of thought? He had to create a boogeyman, something powerful enough that Sargeras would believe it. He couldn't just tell Sargeras, hey, end all life in the universe so that we can get fat and strong and as the eternal ones, and then, you know, we can all feast on the souls of the living. Sargeras wouldn't have gone for that. Sargeras was far too honorable. So he had to do something with Sargeras that made sense. Sargeras spent all of his life, literally the vast majority of his waking life, fighting demons, fighting the threats of the universe. So he had to create something that was an even bigger threat. Something that Sargeras couldn't fight head on. He created the Void. The Void Lords, the evil ones, the ones that will infect the world, and if a Titan ever wakes up that was Void infected, then the whole world surely will come to an end, right? That's the story that the Dreadlords told Sargeras. But what does N'Zoth tell us about all of this? Actually, let's start with Azshara. What does Queen Azshara tell us about all of this? Remember, for a long time, Queen Azshara actually served N'Zoth. Now, she did do it out of necessity, and I'm sure that she wasn't fully aligned with N'Zoth's plans. But when Sylvanas meets Queen Azshara, Azshara says to Sylvanas, as Sylvanas leaves, "Treacherous Banshee, do you think me blind to the darkness you seek to unleash?" And then Azshara says that she is going to claim the throne of ultimate power. That's where she is now. God knows where that is, but she is heading to wherever the ultimate power lies within the universe. That's what she's looking for. What did N'Zoth tell us about Sylvanas? Zovaal tells us, I can't remember the exact whisper, not Zovaal, N'Zoth, excuse me. I can't remember the exact whisper, the exact words of the whisper, so I do apologize, this is paraphrasing. There's too many whispers in the game for me to remember every single one of them off by heart. But he warns us that Sylvanas will use the helm to rip open, to unleash darkness. And then N'Zoth says, "Only I can save you from this fate." That's N'Zoth's words. N'Zoth warns us about what Sylvanas wants to do prior to her doing it. He says that she's going to use the helm to unleash darkness upon the world, and that it is only he that can save us from this darkness. If you start going through the old gods and what they've done and how they've sort of always presented themselves to the universe, the Titans make their creations, right? The Titans make the Titan Keepers and the constructs. What do the old gods do? They give them choice. They give them freedom. The curse of flesh is so much more than just a curse of flesh. It's freedom. Prior to this freedom, constructs would have had to follow blindly whatever the Titans asked of them. Now, only I can save this world, yield and serve. Massey, thank you very much. Yes. So here's my... if we look at the old gods through the scope of H.P. Lovecraft, which is the sort of inspiration behind the old gods, and we look at the outer gods that H.P. Lovecraft created, the outer gods never wanted to destroy. They are, according to H.P. Lovecraft, they're outside the scope of good or evil. And we've heard multiple interviews with Steve Denuser, multiple interviews with Ian Izzy-Costas. They've all sort of reiterated this point. The forces, light, void, order, death, life, these forces are outside the scope of morality. They're outside the scope of good or evil. They exist effectively for themselves, right? They have their own goals, and our sort of limited scope of view of good or evil does not apply to them. Now, this is straight from the H.P. Lovecraft universe, because that's what H.P. Lovecraft said about the outer gods. They don't subscribe to our petty notions of good or evil. But the outer gods wanted to set humanity free to do as they wanted without the rules and regulations that is put upon it by at that point. You know, one could have made multiple arguments, I suppose. Religion, culture, whatever it may be. So, based on this, what are the chances that Zovaal himself saw the unfairness within the creation of the universe? How the universe was set up, how the universe was made into this endless cycle where mortals and beings would have no choice but to obey. And if you think about the Eternal Ones, that's exactly what they are. If you think about the Titans, that's exactly what they are. They obey regardless. They never change their ways. It's very difficult to get them to change their ways. They're all effectively blind. Northern, 100% agree with your statement there. They're blind. They sort of coax through. They coax through life based solely upon the belief in the purpose, right? All of them. The arbiter, from the arbiter all the way down to the primus, they all believe in this purpose, and that this purpose is the thing that keeps the world ticking. What if Zovaal's only crime was the questioning of this purpose? Now this throws things into far more, shall we say, flux. Because this boils down to, were Zovaal and the other Eternal Ones actually created by the First Ones? Or were the First Ones simply powerful enough to impose their will upon the Titans and the Eternal Ones of our universes? Because up until now, we've sort of agreed, everyone just sort of accepted that the First Ones, of course, they made the Titans. The Titans are their children. But what if that's not true? What if the First Ones were simply the ones who imposed the rules on these beings of the cosmos, and that Zovaal were one of the first to say, fuck you. You don't get to tell me what to do. These sigils that you've given me clearly points to some kind of power, right? We already know that. Again, thanks to recent data leaks, we now know, or data mines, we now know that the reason Zovaal was banished is because he believed the sigils that they were given were keys to forgotten knowledge, to incredible knowledge. We know that he tortured the Primus, at that point the Rune Carver, to unlock the secrets that the First One sought to hide. Right? If we go back, we can watch that cinematic if you want. Right? The keys to the secret, the artifacts to the... What did he say there again? I'm trying to remember now. My fucking brain is not working as intended. I do apologize.
Look at you. Pathetic. A puppet dancing on strings.
I will not break. I will not break.
This line now has far more sort of relevance to me. Look at you, pathetic. A puppet dancing on strings. What if he wasn't just referring to him being chained inside the maw, but rather referring to him as a genuine puppet to the First Ones?
Look at you. Pathetic. A puppet dancing on strings.
I will not break. I will not break. I will not.
Fool. Your mind is already broken. But even a broken thing can be made to serve. Countless secrets extracted. Insidious designs forged into weapons for my armies.
the secret that the first ones sought to hide. What if the knowledge that Zovaal was looking for was how to create life just as the first ones before him did, and he's trying to reverse engineer the power used to create the sigils? Stacey, I don't necessarily think that he wants to create life. He seems far more interested in death. Final prize and the secret, is it the same thing? Azeroth Titan? Well, the secret that the first one sought to hide, and it is to claim the final prize, right? Could it be Azeroth? What if those sigils is what is required to unlock Azeroth? That's the keys that he's been looking for. Remember, he also said at the beginning of Shadowlands, one of his servants during the pre-patch said that the Banished One will claim what was his. And he also says death comes for the soul of your world. Every one of the Covenants recreate the sigils in the Race of the Campaign story in 9.1. They seem easy to make. The sigils may be easy to make, but the original ones, it may be that the original ones is what's required to open the door, right? I mean, you have the 5 keys already, right? 5 keys to open the way, 5 torches to light the path. And then, of course, you have the other whisper that says 5 torches, 5 lanterns now darkened, right? It has to have something to do. It has to have something to do with Sylvanas. Not Sylvanas, with Azeroth. It has to. Because at the end of the day, these things were sent to Azeroth. The King of the Damned was sent to Azeroth, and it was again by the design of the jailer, because it was the Dreadlords that sort of directed Sargeras. The 5 keys, reality, the secret knowledge is Unreal Engine 5. But that's my sort of speculation theory. I don't know, like, I don't know if many of you or any of you would even agree with this, but that's my theory. I do not believe that the old gods are as bad as people say. I think everything we've learned about the old gods and about the void was from literally the infiltrators, the greatest infiltrating force in the history of the universe, made up a story and we all just gobbled it down. Like, yeah, let's not ask questions about this, let's just believe it. So I don't think the void is as bad as has been made out. I'm also sort of interested to see how the cycle plays out. What exactly is it about the cycle that bothers the jailer? Why is the cycle, according to him, so very evil? Because one could talk about reforms, right? If you had a problem with how the Shadowlands was being run, surely it wouldn't be that hard to reform it, right? Like, you could reform it. So why is he interested in destroying it? I genuinely don't know.